Welcome, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today in the latest episode of Travel Connect Virtual Series with the crew from American Airlines, and specifically welcoming Neil Geurin and Kyle Mabry, both with American. Neil is Managing Director of Digital and Distribution, and Kyle is Vice President of Global Sales. So thanks, guys, for joining us in this episode of the Virtual Travel Connect series.
Thank you for having us.
Happy to be here.
Can't wait till we can do this in person, but for now, we'll do it like this. So,
that's right.
Let's start by just getting to know you a little bit. I think, Kyle, you have a fairly new role at American Airlines. Can you talk to us about what you do?
Absolutely, and thank you for having us. It's a delight to be with you and to speak with your audience. And to your point, I've recently taken on the role of Vice President of Worldwide Sales for American. I'm new to the role. I'm not new to American, though. I've spent really my entire career in this industry and in this airline. And it's really a proud thing for me to be able to take on this role and to have care for literally our entire global sales team, and to also have a chance to care for our customers that we look after. And people are always like, well, did you grow up in sales? And I really didn't. I've been in sales for quite a few years, but I started in revenue management with the company, and was also in our loyalty program working in Advantage. And in those roles, when I began to study sort of the process of building loyalty, what does it take to really build the kinds of relationships with customers that we really do enjoy a loyal relationship. And I realized that by listening to customers and by really acting quickly and doing the things that they call on us to do, that you could never go wrong. And so as I've come into this global sales role, it's been exciting to work directly with corporate travel managers and travel agents, and even with travelers, and then to work with them to see just what we can get done on their behalf. I've often told the people on my team, especially when they're new to the role, I'm like, something, until you really know all of the facets of the job, you can never go wrong by listening to customers. What's interesting is that I also tell people who have been in the role for a long time, hey, you can never go wrong by listening to customers. So anyway, that's been one of the great joys of this job. And I'm really excited about this next mission. And thanks for asking about it.
Well, congratulations. And every business exists for customers and only for customers. So, we would all take a page out of your book there. We wanted to have both you and Neil with us because I feel like this is just, two sides of the same coin, right? The teams that are focused on the customers and the teams led by Neil who are thinking about how to get the product out into the marketplace. Neil, just give us a little bit of your background too, please.
Yeah, and this is going to sound a bit like a carbon copy because Kyle and I are weirdos in that we have sort of the same career, but kind of in reverse. I started in our loyalty program, moved to revenue management, and then joined sales. And then took over our distribution group in 2017. So been handling that for quite a while, but we made a pretty monumental change for us anyway. Earlier this year, beginning of the year, we brought together our indirect distribution team and our direct team. So both groups are under me now. And we're thinking about customers holistically. How do we go get the right products and services out in the marketplace and make sure that customers, no matter how they want to connect to us, can get the products that they want and can have the experience that they want, and that we are thinking big picture about that whole journey for a customer, no matter how they're coming to us. We got, as the biggest airline in the world, we find ourselves having customers with lots of different experiences and coming from lots of different backgrounds. And so we want to be able to support that well. And so this change for us was pretty big for us because we had to really think back to, we're not on a journey to have customers only come to us direct or only come through the agency side. How do we do it all really well across the whole platform? Because we've got customers who interact with both. So it has been a really interesting experience. But for me and for Kyle, we've been working on this kind of vision of the world for a long time, and it's fun to be in our roles now doing this at this point.
I just think it's brilliant. This idea of the customers are either monolithic, they're all the same, or they kind of want to just do one thing one way. It just feels very old fashioned to me. So, having all of the distribution channels under one leader like yourself, it just feels like a very, very smart move. And Kyle, I'm curious, how is that landing with customers? What do they think about that move?
Look, I think that the approach is definitely the right one in the marketplace, and I think that customers know that that we're not out there to push a particular way of doing business, but really the pressure is on us to make sure that we are, in the place and we're doing business the way that our customers want to do it, when they want to do it, how they want to do it. And so I think that's really what customers demand. And so we didn't make this up. This is really what customers told us. And again, because we are the largest airline in the world, we've got to be able to do a lot of different things. And thankfully, Neil brings a huge experience to this, and is able to help make our airline better by making sure no matter how you come to us, we're ready to help you buy what you want to buy at the time you want to. So it's been really well received.
And how you want to buy it. It's really just, I think you all are, definitely on the right track here. So let's talk about the recovery. I think we're all pleased to see that we're, made great strides from the depths of the worst of the pandemic. And we certainly see in our data that the online travel agency, leisure travel is certainly at the forefront of the recovery. Corporate travel still lagging seriously. How are things looking from the American Airlines perspective, recovery? What are you doing to sort of help recovery come back as quickly as possible? That's the hot topic of today for sure.
No, and you're really spot on you're talking about the data that you're seeing, and we're seeing obviously the same thing. It's a recovery, without a doubt, led by leisure. It has been, and it continues to be. And we've seen really strong trends on leisure demand, and they seem to be growing stronger every week, and that's super encouraging. We're also seeing very early signs of business recovery. Small business demand I would tell you it's improving steadily, but I would also tell you that it was there all along. Smaller and medium-sized businesses that were less likely to have policies that reduce travel or restrict it completely, those companies were less likely to see those kinds of policies. Our largest corporate accounts, of course, were the ones who had policies that they put in place. That even our largest corporate accounts are indicating returns to the office and returns to travel, which, as you well know, are really joined in a lot of companies that we deal with. Another thing that we're seeing is even conferences and events and meetings. Some of that is even starting to build. So, we anticipated that this recovery would be sort of non-linear, and it's shaping up to be just that. Short-haul domestic leisure was really out early because people, when they were ready to travel, when they were comfortable doing so, they wanted to go somewhere that they could be outside. So our sunny destinations and mountains and national parks, we saw recover early. And so we added capacity to make sure that we could accommodate. And then, sort of our shorter haul international leisure markets weren't far behind either, because people were comfortable going to the Caribbean and Mexico. I would tell you domestic business is really coming up next, I feel. And then international long haul will take a little longer. But, our summer schedule, just to kind of conclude that piece, our summer schedule will be around 80% of our 2019 seat capacity. Now, that's encouraging. We have that schedule in place because we're confident that the demand is there. Our domestic network, measured by itself, domestic, will be about 90% of 2019 levels this summer. We're telling our teams in places like DFW, Charlotte, Philly, that you can expect 100% of what you would have expected in a quote unquote normal summer. So we're gearing up for a really, really busy summer. And we're seeing some really, really healthy demand. MCLA, I should point out, will be about the same size as 2019 this summer. And then,
Wow.
of course, transatlantic, trans-Pacific,
Mm-hmm.
those are on a slower pace to come back. They'll come back for sure, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll likely add that capacity back a bit more slowly as customer demand really warrants.
Mm-hmm. Those are some really optimistic numbers there, Kyle. I think you've given me a pep in my step right now.
It really should.
Yeah.
I hope that it's encouraging to the people on this call. And it's probably not surprising to a lot of people, but it really is encouraging to see people ready to travel. We know there's a lot of pent up demand.
Yeah.
People are ready to go. We see that when they get their vaccines, for example, they want to catch up on lost time. And so we're going to be there for them.
Yeah. When we look at our forward-looking data in tickets that have already been purchased for travel, later through this year, it looks like we could end the year all in, international and domestic, maybe 50% below, 2019 levels. And when you think about how much comes through the agency channel that is corporate and is international, that you have to have some really strong recovery on the domestic side to get to that number. So it all feels very optimistic.
I agree, 1,000%.
Yeah. All right. Let's shift from recovery to distribution strategy. Even in the darkest days of 2020, Neil, I know you and your team continue to try to progress the distribution strategy at American Airlines. I'm curious to hear about what you were able to keep progressing and where things are going to go for you and your team in the future.
Yeah, I would say, there really were no dark days of distribution, at least for us. There were
You're
certainly,
busy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were quite busy through the course of the year. There were definitely partners that we worked with that just needed to slow down because of the just the demands of what was going on with COVID, and certainly that was something we fully understood. But progress continued to happen across the board, and specifically, I think the progress that we're most excited to see come live this year is all the progress with the GDSs. So we announced last year that we were there with an end-to-end integration with Amadeus, and that has continued to develop over the course of the last year. Never really slowed down at all. And then the other two major GDSs have made a ton of progress, and we are fully expecting that we'll be live with both of those this year. So, we think we're at a point now where NDC content is going to be available to agencies that want to consume it via the GDS, no matter which GDS they work with, going into the early part of next year. So that was exciting for us. But beyond that, we got to do a lot with the entire industry as we thought through. It was a chance for us and the IATA groups to sit back and really think about what matters to customers and how can we make that the focus of what we're developing here across the industry, not just at American. And so we participated in many of those online panels. There were agencies involved, there were corporations involved, trying to figure out what are the tools and resources that customers actually really valued and wanted access to in the third-party channels for us. And so the big one for us is we launched earlier this year, and the ability to sell what we call Main Plus via NDC. So the ability to get a main cabin extra seat and to get an extra bag and a few other things that are just going to come along with it via NDC. So a customer who's plugged in to one of our NDC channels, and Amadeus will be there very shortly here, will be able to go in and make that purchase and have it all come along seamlessly and not have to go jump through a bunch of hoops to get those products and services. And that's kind of it's step one in a long path, but it's the kind of vision of what we want to do with NDC. We want to make people's lives easier, full stop, not necessarily sell them something that they didn't want to begin with, but if they were going to make those purchases on their own, this is a way to streamline the process.
Yes.
One expense report, one line, right? All the things that can just make your life easier, we're trying to do here with NDC.
That's fantastic because it's been, a long journey with NDC, and it's for people to actually be able to see the tangible benefits is really going to give everybody a shot in the arm and a reward for all of the effort. Are there other examples of products that are going to be available through these GDS connections that you think will be real popular? Or maybe this is a question for Kyle as well. What are your customers most demanding that you deliver through these new capabilities?
Well, I could start, and I'm sure Kyle's got thoughts because Kyle is talking to our customers even more often than I am every day. So, but Main Plus, like I said, is just a teaser, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not the end all be all. We're going to have lots
Mm-hmm.
of other products available via NDC. We actually took the time last summer when we were a little bit slower on the integration demands from a few of the parties we work with, and we used that to build out the technology to allow for carbon offsets to be sold via NDC, which no one else had done. So doing things like that will be helpful to all of our customers who really care about sustainability. We'll be able to put that right in their hands as they're making a purchase. Again, they won't have to come to a.com after they make that purchase to buy that carbon offset if they really want it. But there's going to be a multitude of options available to customers, both from American and a lot of our competitors. A number of really big airlines have done a lot over the last year to develop their NDC capabilities. So this is not only an American effort for sure, and as much as I'm really proud of our team, and it's been fun to work through this, I'm also really proud of where the industry is headed, because I think it's going to be so good for customers no matter who they're shopping, who they're flying. We're going to be finally in a better place. And when it comes to NDC, which for anyone who's not familiar stands for New Distribution Capability, I'm really hopeful we can just start calling it DC. It's no longer new. I mean,
The new,
we're 10 years in. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
really new anymore anyway, but it gets to the point where customers don't have to think about that technology anymore. They just get
Right.
the products and services they want. And we're so close. Lip of the cup. We're almost there.
Yeah, we truly are. Kyle, what are your customers saying that they're looking for? What's on the horizon from your perspective?
Look, I think the only thing that I would add to what Neil said is that, if the pandemic has made us a better company. It really has. And I probably couldn't point out anything that's more important than that we're a nimbler company, a more nimble company than we were, and we're faster to market. And so, I would tell the people listening here, anything that you want to see in NDC, it offers so many possibilities, not just what we can offer, but the way that we can show it. It's an exciting thing because we can show such great content that customers know exactly what to expect, and we're able to distribute what it is that they want, and we're going to get quicker at offering those things. And so I would just tell our friends who are watching, let us know, because this NDC is not here for us. It is here for you. It is here so we can provide you what it is you want. So this dialogue that we're having with our customers is one that I'm so excited about, and our work with them is going to help us make what Neil has now changed the name of as DC to be truly.
Make it more confusing.
Yeah, right. For our customers. So well said, Neil.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll add to that, Lauri, is that we went into pandemic probably not dissimilar from a lot of our competitors who are also working very hard on NDC, incredibly focused on NDC capabilities that would apply to corporate customers or small business customers. And because, to Kyle's point earlier, the recovery has been so leisure focused, it sort of opened our eyes to opportunities on the leisure side as well. So you're going to see a lot more NDC content on places like OTAs, which maybe wouldn't have been the focus before all of this, but I think is going to end up being really good for customers and really good for our partners on the OTA side, and great for us too. So it's just a win all the way around. And I think that's the kind of development that would have taken a really long time under normal circumstances. And not to say there's anything good that's come of COVID, but that opportunity to rethink the way the business works is probably going to be a win for all involved in the long run.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it is a fascinating phenomenon. We've all experienced it, right? When you're kind of under the gun in terms of the financial stresses of that COVID has brought to our industry. It does have a clarifying effect, and it does help you figure out where can we add the most value, and let's do it now. And it does kind of strips away some of the stuff that maybe would have taken longer under normal times. I have just an observation to make, and I want you to tell me whether you think it's accurate. It feels like NDC's taken a long time, but it is an enormous undertaking. Building these pipes, building the capability, and so once it's built, then my impression is then it becomes a lot faster to add whatever the new content is, because you've got the sort of foundations in place. Would you agree with that, Neil? Is that a kind of a layman's view of DC?
Yeah, look, there's still work to be done as new products come along, but your point is exactly right, and we've seen this play itself out over the last 5 years all the time, where we do have these connections in place. When we add that next bell or whistle, it doesn't take nearly as long to get it stood up as it takes to do that initial integration. And there are parties that integrate very quickly. It just comes down to their tech stack and how much ability they have to make that move. But for these big integrations, especially the GDSs, once the content pipes are built, it does become so much easier to make these changes and to make content available to customers without a lot of the lead time. There's still work to be done on how it gets displayed to a customer. That's another piece of it. But you know, at least it's sitting there, and somebody can go build the code to actually show it to a customer at that point. It becomes much easier.
Yeah, that's really another great piece of news that I think this audience will probably really enjoy hearing, that it's things will move more quickly, especially once those GDSs are all ready to rock and roll. It's going to be really awesome. Industry collaboration. Want to take a moment and just talk about that. It's been really gratifying, I think, to be a part of this industry and watch how this industry has sort of pulled together through COVID. It's been, someone described it recently as we were all in this pool of water swimming around, you know, kind of doing our thing, working with each other. But once the COVID kind of drained all the water away, you could actually see the other parties and create even clearer partnerships, because it had a clarifying effect. And I don't know if that's a great metaphor, but it sort of stuck with me. So you have all done some really interesting new partnerships with both Alaska Airlines and JetBlue. I'm curious, this might be more for Kyle, but or for you, Neil. Like, just, you know, what are your hopes? What do you hope to see out of those two partnerships? You know, what kind of things can you share with our audience about, you know, what the key initiatives are that are underway at this time?
I'll take that, and I'm glad you asked, because we're obviously really excited about those things. But Lauri, I want to comment on what you just said about the way that our industry pulled together, and you know, that doesn't mean just sort of airlines really scrambling to make sure that we do all the right things and understand not only what to do on board and at the airports, but also how to communicate on matters that we're not used to communicating on. You know, sort of the cleanliness message and air filters and all these different things that, you know, these were questions that weren't asked a lot by customers, and suddenly they were the most important thing. And I was really proud of the airline side of our industry for really doing so many great things to not only put things in place that would keep customers safe, but also to get really good at communicating those things so that people knew this is a safe experience when you're ready to travel. But then it was also joining hands with other members of this travel ecosystem, because customers don't just care about it being a safe flying experience. Right. They want to understand the experience at the hotel and at the car rental company and everything in between. And I think we all got together and knew that we needed to talk about the travel experience and not just our part of it. And so it has been gratifying, hasn't it, to kind of work together and make sure we do the right things for customers and communicate it well.
Yeah. I have to just give a shout out to Airlines for America. They, you know, really rallied for this industry, as did ASTA, and also in helping, you know, to get some government financial assistance. You know, when you look outside of the U.S., a lot of markets did not get the kind of help that we did, but it's the way the industry showed up, I think, you know, as an industry, that really helped to carry that message with the government as well. So just another example of how that we've all benefited from that, for sure.
Yeah, and I'll add to that you know, and Kyle, you may have been headed this direction, but going through this process, I lost count of how many times one of our agency partners went to bat for us with customers, or to help explain these things, or to have to change their technology to explain this to a customer. And we literally could not have done this. We could not have gotten through this last year without the partners we have in the industry. It blew me away over and over and over again.
Wow. Yeah, that is a silver lining for what we've been through. And I think you're right, Kyle, too. The kinds, the pivot that had to be made around safety and health protocols and getting all of that information out at scale, like even when people weren't traveling as much, just the amount of work to make that information available did require, true example of collaboration, not just sort of nice to have collaboration, but essential to the survival of our industry, really.
Yeah, it's going to help us in the recovery and beyond the recovery, I think, because we are working more closely together than we ever have before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy that we somehow figured out a way to have, I think, even closer relationships, to Neil's point, with travel advisors, for example, and travel agencies and corporate travel managers. And we used Zoom to stay close. And I think in some ways we sort of cheated COVID, because everything was so negative and so destructive, and somehow a halo effect came out of it, I think, because our relationships were stronger, because we met together in our homes, and there was something really, really sort of raw about that, and something, I think that our friendships deepened, and I think that's going to be better for our customers because of that, because we're not going to stop working together. We can't. That's got to be something that we take beyond. But you asked a question about, your question was about our domestic alliance.
But before we go there, I want to say thank you both for keeping me, or taking me back to this topic of collaboration, because I don't want to brush over it all. You're right, Kyle. We at ARC have always, because we work with agencies and airlines, we see how interdependent and how connected everybody is. And through this experience, you're right, we think people have drawn closer together, and that we ought to all vow to try to continue to make sure that we're continue to see the value in that, and pay attention to it. So
now, thanks to ARC for the part you play in this whole ecosystem and bringing us together. And we're really, really appreciative of you and your organization and your friendship. So thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't trying to make that an ARC plug, but we'll take it. So okay, so back to JetBlue and Alaska Airlines. Talk to us about hopes and dreams for both of those partnerships.
It's all very new, and it's all very exciting. Here's the bottom line. I think probably most of the people on this call are familiar with a lot of this, but these alliances are super, super exciting for us, and we're really endeavoring to do something special for our customers through these. It's going to give us the chance to offer, and I say it's offering us the chance because I'm going to tell you about the work still ahead for us, but it gives us the chance to offer seamless network where we previously sort of underperformed in terms of our network footprint. And through our partnerships with Alaska and with JetBlue, we can now offer the largest network in these two regions, the West Coast and the Northeast. And but what we acknowledge, and I'll do so willingly right now, is that the experience has to be seamless. And so these are amazing, and I'm not exaggerating when I talk about the power of the network that we're going to be able to offer customers who fly to these parts of the country or who are in these parts of the country. But what we've got to do is to make it seamless for our travel agency partners, for our corporate accounts, for the traveler, and everyone in between. A great example of this is that a premium customer has got to be recognized across both carriers in these alliances. If you're a premium customer with American Airlines, then when you're flying on the West Coast International Alliance, you need to be recognized by Alaska as their most premium customer, and vice versa. And this all sounds super, super easy, and I assure you, that's the kind of thing that we're working on right now. But these are super powerful for our customers, and we're working really, really hard on them. The JetBlue Alliance is one. I'll just point out kind of what it can bring, but it allows us to do things, for example, besides sort of offering better benefits through our frequent flyer programs, and also obviously a broader network, more choices, and all of those things. You also get new service from Boston to Cincinnati and St. Louis and Toronto, new flights on American from LaGuardia to Houston, Oklahoma, Omaha, and other places. JetBlue has introduced LaGuardia to Jacksonville, Nashville, New Orleans, Savannah. I'm missing some. But these are the things that these alliances can bring. It offers more choices. And obviously it takes us, I'm going to go back. I know I'm going back and forth from coast to coast, but before I took on this role, I was looking after our team in the Western Division in the United States and living out in Los Angeles. And I had firsthand knowledge of the fact that in many of our corporate accounts, for example, especially up in, say, the Pacific Northwest, oftentimes our network fit for them might be number 3 or number 4. But to be able to join with Alaska and provide a more powerful network for them and literally become their best choice in many cases is really exciting for us and for our sales team. And a special shout out to the best sales team in the industry, Airlines. It's very, very gratifying to be able to offer this to our customers. So I guess the last thing I would say on this topic, because we have so many customers and people that we want to be customers on this call, is to say that we're the ones creating this. And I say we, I mean us and also our customers, and we're all ears. And anything that you want to see from these alliances, please let us know, because these exist for you, and we're doing this together. So they are really, really exciting. We're excited to offer new service out of Seattle to places like London, which has already begun on our metal, Bangalore, and all kinds of really exciting things are still to come. But those are the things that are made possible when we're able to build alliances like this with the customer in mind. Thanks for asking about it, Lauri.
Oh, it's exciting. It's going to be fun to watch, see what happens. Neil, how does this impact your area? Are you the one trying to make all that seamless customer experience happen?
No, thankfully that's a work of a lot of people, and I'm one of the people at the table, but certainly not the bulk of them. Kyle's point is right. It's a grand vision that we have of making this seamless for customers, and it's one of our top priorities in the company. But it's not easy. And so for me, as we think about our digital experience, and when somebody comes to a.com, if they're searching for a flight, they need to see the options both on American and on our partners when we're acting seamlessly between each other. Or if it's a Alaska customer who's coming to us, how do they see kind of the same level of tier status support that they have with Alaska when they come into our own channels? So all that's really important to us, and it's a big effort to do it, but it is a cross-company effort, and it's a cross-company at Alaska and JetBlue as well. The other thing I think is really interesting and fun about these partnerships is we learn a lot from these other companies about how they make decisions and what are they focused on when they're talking to a customer. It's easy to get lost when you've been around, like Kyle and I have, for a really long time in the airline, and you think you got it all figured out. And the reality is there's a lot of different ways to solve problems. There's a lot of different focuses you can bring to the table. And so with every one of our partnerships, we've picked up tips and tricks and ideas that have made our own offerings better, even outside of those partnerships in a lot of cases. So it's a lot of work, but it's all positive and it's all good for customers. So it's easy to get up in the morning and be excited to come do it.
That's awesome. So many bright things ahead for American Airlines, for your partners, for our industry. As we get ready to wrap up, is there anything that you wanted to talk about with us today that I didn't ask about?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. Neil, do you want to go first?
Yeah, look, I think, I said it earlier, I think this is a really exciting year for distribution, both direct and indirect. Tons and tons of progress is going to get made, not just in American, across the industry. I hope a lot of our agency partners are excited about that, and I definitely hope you're reaching out to us and giving us your feedback on where you want to see this go, because we're here to make it happen. We've been doing that for a long time. My very, very first week when I took over the distribution team in 2017 was the week that we announced two things: that we were going to have an NDC incentive that was available, and that we wanted to partner with GDSs. And I still remember being in those meetings with agencies in 2017 where they were like, oh, naive new guy is going to partner with the GDSs on NDC. And it is so awesome that we're going to look up 4 years later and it's going to be there. So that is a huge testament, by the way, to the agencies who have worked with the GDSs to ask for that help, for the GDSs who have invested an incredible amount of time and effort and resource into this. Just amazing the work that's been done across the whole industry, but it's been really fun to be a part of it. And I can't wait to see, after we get past all this COVID stuff, all the fun we're going to be able to have for the whole industry and how much easier we're going to be able to make people's lives when they travel.
Yeah, so you'll enjoy all the fruits of those labors, because you're right, it's been a lot of labor. That's awesome. Thank you. What about you, Kyle? Any things you want to talk about?
Hey, Neil, that was very well said. And I think the only thing that I would add is just it's really more personal than it is about the business. But I started kind of my responses by talking about what we're seeing, because I knew it would be interesting, especially in response to the question. But I really also wanted the people that work with us in this industry to know that we know this has been a tough time. I know that we're talking with travel advisors and travel agencies and many corporate accounts that had really, really difficult times, and we know that. And we've really, really tried throughout this to be the most flexible that we can possibly be, and to be as helpful as we can possibly be, to give more information, sometimes more than you might have wanted, when it was available. Because look, it's a difficult thing for all of us, but what I wanted you to know is that we are seeing a way out of this, and the recovery definitely seems to be underway in many cases. Not in all cases, but in many cases the recovery is well underway. And so let's work together, because we've got a lot to get stood up. We really do. We've got an entire industry that's ready to get back to business. Yep. And we'll do that together, just like we got through this together. And the stuff that we've got ahead is going to be a whole lot more fun than the things that we've done in the past 12 months. But I think we're all better. I really do. And what you'll see from American Airlines is that we are far more nimble. As we kind of had to do things like put Verifly in place, which is our mobile passport, which makes a lot of the differing restrictions from one destination to the next. It makes it simpler and allows a customer to know that, okay, if I'm going to go to this destination, I'll need to have this document, and you can upload all those documents. And finally, when everything is there, you actually have a green check mark that lets you know, okay, I've got what I need. It's reassuring, but we knew that we had to do that because there's a lot of mystery around travel that we have the ability to remove. And so those technologies were not easy to put in place, but we worked faster than ever before. And I commend our team for that. I commend our customers for helping us know that was the most important thing that we could do. But we're going to take that from the pandemic and into the recovery, and we're going to work together to do great things for our customers. So let's keep these relationships like they are. You let us know, and I guess now I'm talking to the people who are watching, but please let us know what we can do for the customers that we serve together, and let's do something really, really special with the opportunity that we have. And Lauri, thank you. Thank your team. It's really, really fun to be with you and giving us a chance to just kind of talk about our story a little bit. And thanks for the opportunity.
Kyle, you're welcome. Neil, thank you. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks to all of those of you that are listening for tuning in. And stay tuned for the next episode of ARC's Travel Connect virtual series. But for now, again, just thank you, Neil and Kyle, for joining us. It was a wonderful conversation.
Thanks,
all
Lauri.
The best.
Thanks. Good to see everyone.
See y'all.
Bye.